training as a tax consultant and then a decade as a lobbyist. She became MP for Twickenham 5 years ago. She chairs the NHS Confederation, the membership body for all NHS organisations, often seen as the voice of the NHS leadership, in London, and was one of the first so-called People's Peers appointed to the House of Lords over 20 years ago. And Lord Charles Moore is a columnist for both The Spectator and Daily Telegraph, as well as The Sunday Telegraph. He's also Margaret Rye's biographer. Evening. Welcome to our panellists. Welcome to our audience here in Tottenham. Great to see you. You can join in the programme on social. Right, let's kick off with our first question, which...
Does Britain have a sick note culture and a lazy workforce?
The Prime Minister claimed this week, I think this is what you're referring to, Shelley, that Britain is suffering from a sick note culture and warned of over-medicalising normal worries. Shelley, can I just ask you, since you've asked this question...
Prime Minister to be making such a comment and not having sympathy for hard-working British people.
Chris.
People back into work. Since COVID, there are about 850,000 people more benefits, but it's also a missed opportunity for the individuals concerned who can build prosperity by getting into work. And the idea of the reforms and the changes that were announced, like the Working Age Benefits Bill, is in the region of £100 billion a year. I mean, these are enormous, enormous sums of money, economically healthier, but it's also better for them to be helped back into work as a whole.
And the government wants GPs, sort of specialised health and work experts.
Time recruited. I think the concern is that, GPs have specialisation, they'll be trained to identify what people can do, what they're able to. There is also a concern that GPs, being busy, being under pressure, and who can think about what the individual is able to do, what things can they do.
Ready. This is going to be interesting, but Wes, let me come to you first.
I don't think we have a sick note culture and only this Prime Minister of 8 million looking at mental health waiting lists that see 40,000 children in our country waiting over 2 years for treatment. Really need to do is sort out the bit of the system that gives them sick notes rather than sort out the bit of the system that keeps people waiting so long for treatment and care. For GPs than there were in 2015. But if we want to sort this problem out, and if we want to deal with the fact that the benefits bill is rising and people are off work and it's harming our economy, then let's deliver 2 million more appointments a year to cut NHS waiting lists, with one particularly what he says about mental health. He hasn't got the first clue what it is like to lie awake at night worrying about whether you can pay your rent, whether you can pay your mortgage, whether your home is going to be repossessed, whether you're going to be evicted, whether your kids are going to self-harm or attempt suicide. We haven't got the first clue.
Fiona, and happy birthday. I think just
to start off with... OK, everybody, I'm 60 today. Let's just get that said. Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
To start off with, I think it's very...
Assess people. Exactly what you're going to do. Because I have a client who was claiming disability benefits. He hasn't been able to...
When you say have a client, what do you...
Actually, for me to assess one client, it takes me about 8 hours. How are you going to really be able to assess these clients and actually say they're able to work? Because so...
Look, I mean, I'm getting on a bit, right? You're 60, I'm 62. I've got 2 years on you, right? And
it's so great that everyone knows I'm 60 now.
We all know
anyway.
You look good, though.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my workout. I'm feeling terrible. I've got a cold. Yeah, you look pretty cool as well. But honestly, if you can set your watch, I kind of groan. There's an election coming. You know it. You know it. If you're at home... And the number that you use, Chris, 870,000 people. Well, 2 million people have got long COVID. It's a recognised illness as a result of the COVID. So let's just be clear about what we're talking about here. I've very rarely met somebody who doesn't want to work. When somebody says that you need specialists, what people have got, and your question was very pertinent, what people have got to used to thinking is that it doesn't mean an additional investment in occupational therapists. That's not what you're talking about. And nobody believes that's what you're talking about. What they think you're talking about is somebody who works for the DWP or a private sector company who's measured by the ability to beat you back into a job, which, Rishi knows better. He does. He runs the country. It doesn't matter about a billionaire. Bit of empathy, bit of kindness, bit of understanding. Talk to people. Pinned our neck in. Let's understand how people actually live and give people actual support.
Citing doctors for this. I'm talking about the amount of time that is devoted to this, and it's a real difficulty.
Let me hear a little bit more from the Osman, and then I'll come to you. Yes, woman there in the glasses.
I'm getting a bit anxious here with regards to this question, this debate. I'm actually a mental health nurse that works in this area, and I trained to do mental health work. So you'll get one client of a family that you're working with and you end up with the whole family. Yeah. Because as part of my job, we have to be holistic. Yeah. So you'll find out that there's housing issues. Yeah. You'll find out that there's poverty. You'll find out that there's no childcare, etc. So what's happening in mental health is that we are becoming housing officers. Yeah. We are becoming social workers. Yes. We are doing all the jobs that GPs cannot handle because there's not enough of them and they're not able to cope. So this idea, what Rishi Sunak has, I feel very insulted that he's speaking that way, and it is true. We do have to bring in this billionaire kind of lifestyle that really he isn't really in touch with. And regards to what you're saying, sir, from the Federation, I'm very happy to hear that you're here today, and it's touched that you're here today because I feel supported by that, because myself here, especially in this area of Tottenham and Edmonton, where there's so much needed to be done, how can you expect one person to be trained to do something that you obviously don't understand what mental health is? You obviously don't understand the remit of what is going on in this world and what can cause things and what can cause someone who's working perfectly well to crash. Okay.
No, we hear what you say. Can I just ask? Listen, I'm going to do this in the interest of balance. Is there anyone who either has some sympathy with or agrees with what the Prime Minister is trying to do in terms of, you've had the Prime Minister, you also had Mel Stryve talking about perhaps we're over-medicalised, that they have claimed. Well, can I just ask, do you agree with the Prime Minister? Hear what you say. Thank you for your contribution.
And this is why Haringey Council is despicable. And this is Tottenham talking.
Munira.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your situation, and Frank, it sounds like you quite rightly should be a priority, but the answer is no. And frankly, those comments were an insult not just to my constituents, but millions of people up and down the country are having thousands of pounds worth of money clawed back when they're already living in a huge amount of poverty, and that caused the government's dementia czar to quit over these actions the government's taking. If they had an ounce of empathy and sympathy for what these people are going through, they would call an amnesty on that and make sure that we are supporting our unpaid carers, because without them, the NHS and our social care system would fall over.
Right, OK. I'm going to take another question. There's lots that you all want to discuss tonight, as I saw all the questions that you submitted as you arrived. I just want to let you know, before we do, let you know at home that next week we're in Cambridge, and the following week is from Priya Naga Martin.